Hi. You're a horrible audience. Hi. You think this is going to fly when Rollins comes up. He'll come out there and just kick your ass. That's how it's going to work. I'm not used to being a warm-up act, but I am so happy to be one right now. Mr. Rollins was my hero when I was 15, so it was very, very cool to be here. A couple things first. One, do you want me to explain the man bun now? All right, I can do it at the end. Now? All right, the top 5 reasons why Scott, a 44-year-old man, has a man bun. Reason number 1, my wife loves it. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. That's why I have it, so thank you. She's smoking hot, and so she says shave the whole thing, it's gone. Yeah, whatever. This whole contraption here is all her doing, and it'll stay this way until further notice. I figured I had to explain the man bun because I assume half of you thought I was the sound guy. Props to my sound and AV crew. Give them a round of applause, will you? The camera crew, the stage people, the production, they don't get enough credit, and they put up with people like me, so they need a lot of applause, more so. Most importantly, too, I am Canadian. I'm sorry, you guys see what just happened recently? I'm sorry. I didn't mention, who here is actually from, like, Cleveland or Ohio? I'm sorry. I should have done it properly. OH. Okay, so I don't know if you know this, but Toronto hates you. Like, we're a kind country. We're known for like 3 things: poutine, not winning the Stanley Cup in a long time in the whole country, and kindness. Well, we now only are known for 2 things: poutine and not winning the hockey, because we're no longer kind, and that has to do with Cleveland. Because the Indians beat us, the Jays in the playoffs multiple years in a row, and the Cavs whooped our ass multiple years in a row. So I negotiated to get rid of the prodigal son here. He screwed off to LA. We brought in Kawhi, won, and now he screwed off to LA. So now we hate LA. So we're joining you in hating LA together, if you don't mind that. That's how this works. So I want to talk about 2 things today before Mr. Rollins comes on. I'm just going to talk to you about 2 things. That's it. I'll talk to you about ethics and vanity. 2 very light topics. Not going to get too deep today. I got a half hour. So I'm going to talk about a Canadian company. I won't name them because this is the classy joint, so I blurred out their name. So, I don't know about you, but this is what I do for a living. I do 60, 70 keynotes a year at associations and companies, and what I'm trying to tell you is I don't have a job. I've been unemployed for 18 glorious years, and I love it. But I don't usually get to talk to marketers. I usually talk to like people, and I get to talk to you because you're my people. Or am I implying you're not human? Yes. Because the crap we put up with makes us inhuman in marketing, yes? 3 people, it's like, yes, I'm going to die tomorrow. I'm so stressed. And so I'm glad we're on the same page. So one of the things I do is I'm always looking for the why. Why something went viral, why something gets more views, why something in an app store jumps to the top. Right? And some things are self-explanatory. Like, Candy Crush goes to the top because it's a horribly addicting game, a horrible game itself, and it's digital heroin for most people over 45. And so how these things go up, I understand some of them. I understand the psychology and the gamification of things and all this, but there was one app. Because I wake up every day and I look at the App Store because I have issues. And I want to see what's trending all the time because I'm fascinated by it. And number two in the free app downloads in Canada was the MyBell mobile app. You see, this app has incredible functionality. It does 2 things. It tells you how much your overpriced bill is and how much overpriced data you've used this month. Now, for these non-Canadians in the room, you have to understand something about data in Canada. We suck at data pricing. We are the highest cost per megabyte for any civilized nation. Why? I don't know. There's no reasonable explanation for it. Let's just say I have 2 phone numbers. I have an American SIM card that I pay $85 a month for, and I'm saving $900 a month by roaming with an American phone number in the States and then swapping it back out when I go home. It's terrible. So I'm sitting there going, well, wait a second. Why is any app from this company rated high? Because there's only one thing. I get to speak around the world, and the only one thing I found in common in every single country, every language, and every culture is our joint hatred of three things: airlines, banks, and cell phone companies. Right? I've never gone to a country and said, how's your airlines? And they're all like, great! Nobody has ever done that. So I'm curious. I'm curious why it was ranked 2, but they could get it on volume because they're like one of 2 really national companies, right? We have Rogers and we have Bell, really, in the cell phone world. And so they have the volume to get the downloads. But what was curious to me was they had an average of 4.5 stars with 89 ratings. So it wasn't like somebody's mom reviewed it and it was 5 stars and then the public reviewed it and went tanked. 89 reviews. And it had the same on the Google Play Store. Now, Google, Android users are even harder to please than iPhone users. Anybody Android users here? Yeah, okay, so watch out for these people. They want their app now, and they want it free, and they want it perfect. You can look at the average stars for millions of apps in both stores. Androids are even harder to please for these type of things. So I start digging. Because you know when you dig, right? You dig when you smell it. You smell a little bit of BS, you're like, what's that? It's over here. I think it's over here. And so I start digging because it's curiosity, because we've created a brand and a company is that when it hits the fan, it gets sent to us. Our podcast, our books, my talks is the only publicity, the only content marketing, customized talk, the only content marketing you don't want your brand to be a part of. That's how our company works usually. The show is called the Podcast, the business show for the fed up. We never lack content. Every week we get new stuff. So I start sniffing. And I start reading the reviews. And the nice thing about the app store is it's usually their actual name. First review is 5 stars, works great, exclamation point. By the way, have you ever left an exclamation point on your review? Ever? Not usually, unless it changed your damn life. Unless the burritos were so good that you literally peed yourself. And they brought you a new pair of pants and you didn't ask. That's worth an exclamation point. Anything below that, no chance. You're a paid reviewer or something like that. Works great. Makes it so easy now to check my profile and pay my bill. Nice, clean design and very user-friendly. Exclamation. What? Who talks like that? Not humans. Marketers. Steph says, much improved, like the new look, faster and easier to use, exclamation. What? Can you smell it now? Just take a little whiff. Right, I know in marketing we get a little immune to it so we don't smell it as much, but I'm getting the stank. We're getting stank level now. I keep reading. Charbel says, awesome app and very user-friendly. Looking forward to include BTV and home phone services in future releases. Oh, come on. That is right out of the press release. You didn't even try, Charbel. Thanks for showing up to the game. And then Shell says, nice upgrade, easy to use, was able to manage my bills with no problems. Have you ever in your life reviewed or contacted a company and said, thank you for letting me pay my bill with ease? Let alone gone to a third-party site to let them know? This is insanity. I'm in bed this whole time, by the way, doing this. And Allison's beside me. She's like, you smell something, don't you? I'm like, oh, baby. So then I go and I use some kind of underground tools for it. You might want to jot them down. You know, I open up the Tor browser. I go in there. I'm going dark. I'm going looking around. I use a site. This is great for research. Nobody knows about it. It's called LinkedIn. And I went to LinkedIn and I cross-referenced the names. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the Associate Director of Bell, the Marketing Manager of Bell, the Performance Manager of Bell, and the quality assurance manager at Bell. Oh, I'm sorry. Allegedly. Could this been another Mike McKinney, or Steph Steen, Charbel, and Shell? Sure. Frankly, they sound made up. But I confirmed, they're real. But as a Canadian, I let it go. And I walked, oh no, I'm sorry. I wrote a blog post. That is the greatest headline written in content marketing history. You wait your whole career, and you are not reacting the way I think you should as content marketers to that headline. That is gold. For whom you wait your whole career for that headline. And I put it up on the blog, and I just kind of walked away. And then it went banana cakes. The news picked it up and went around the world. This is our, CBC is like our CNN up there. It's our national news. And I did the trifecta. I was on their site. I was on the radio. And I was on TV. I was in the newspaper, which made my mom proud. And she's their one subscriber. And she went, I did Globe and Mail and Post and Australia and England. And it was in Singapore. And it was all over these places. And then the Canadian Competition Bureau says, we're launching an investigation. And usually, I don't know how it is in the States, but whatever your kind of business competition board, whatever it is here, when they announce an investigation, that's usually the conclusion of the investigation, right? Nothing happens after that, right? It's just like, it just starts and never does anything. A year later, I'm on the GO train. I live just west of Toronto. I live in Oakville. And I don't know why I told you the town I live in now. It's weird. Like you have any frame of reference for that. You're like, cool. Why'd you say that? I don't know why I did that. It's weird. I'm on the train. I'm headed to the Jays playoff game. Don't worry, it was against the Rangers. And it actually ended up being the Batista bat flip game. So that was awesome. So I'm on the train. Phone rings. It's CBC News. And they always call me when something goes wrong. So I pick up the phone. I'm like, what happened? They're like, oh, you didn't hear? The Competition Bureau came down with their ruling. Two things in their judgment. One, Bell has to send all their employees for ethics training. And I'm like, do they need a speaker? Because I know a guy. And number two, they've been fined $1.25 million. And I did this whole thing without ever putting pants on. Why do I bring this up to you, my fine, fine marketers? Why? It's a great question. Because the first comment on that infamous blog post, the first comment that came up to it, after you write something, after you create something, right? And you're waiting to get traction, and then somebody comments, you're like, woo! And you go see it. The first comment was, who cares? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go investigate you now, you jackass. I wasn't. And I wrote back, I do. And so should you. The internet is a very basic thing. Being the World Wide Web, which is what us old people used to call it, it is a web. And it's a web that's created through trust. We break that trust. You break the internet because it becomes less relevant. It's happening now in this day and age. We don't trust anybody anymore. But we will. If we go on to Yelp, we trust strangers well before we ever trust the business, yes? A business could say, we have great tacos. And you're like, yeah, I know you do. But some guy you've never heard of on Yelp that may or may not be a serial killer said they have great guac. You're like, that's all I need. We break trust, we break the purpose. We should care. And I'm only me. And I don't like to do a lot of work. So this is like my one thing. You guys do the rest. And the easiest way to do that is make sure we're doing that. You don't get to re-up on ethics once a quarter. You don't get to renew your brand integrity when the calendar flips over to the next year. When you sacrifice integrity for metrics, you should no longer be doing your job. Now, sometimes, I know, sometimes you're being told to do this. I don't care. I just want views. I just want this. Or I just want sign-ups or sign-ons or installs or whatever it is. And if you have to do it and you break that integrity, I just hope you then look elsewhere, to go somewhere else. Because that's ooh, I almost swore. That's a shitty feeling. I'm going to get in trouble. But that's the point. You can feel it, and you feel it in your gut. You know when it ain't right. And I want you to do something with that. Whether it's to yourself saying, I got to do something else, where I don't have to compromise that, or when you bring it up. Or use me. Well, if we do this, Scott, who's that? It's a man-bun 40-year-old. Oh, that guy. Okay, yeah. Yeah, he'll make us his next blog post. Use me as leverage. I'm good with that. And if they go ahead with it, just let me know. And then I'll unleash the hounds, if you want. But I suggest find a new job first, and then I'll do that. And then we get into a point where even if it's not ethically gray, we have a problem still. And that's when we come into the metrics. And it's the vanity metrics that drive a lot of our industry that greatly concern me. At no fault of anybody in this room. We're going by the numbers we are given. Yes? I want metrics that matter. I'm going to give you an example of one of my things from Facebook, and I'm going to drill you down through the metrics until we get to a point where it's even usable, okay? So when I usually give keynotes, it's not like this. I don't talk about the Bell thing. I don't talk about metrics. I'm talking about disruption. And in the middle of my talk, I have a Millennial Rant. And it looks like I'm hating on millennials, but I flip it halfway through. And I read like a 4-page screen, like it's 4 slides long, all paragraphs about the youth of today and how much they suck, and they get out of your parents' basement, get a job, and I'm ripping. And all the millennials in the audience are like, we get it. And then I show the date of it, and it's from Newsweek, October 31st, 1993. It's actually ripping on my generation, whichever one you want, right? Wrestling fan, regular person, yeah. So, but the point of this is, so at the start, I have a bit in there. So I have a bit, and well, here, this way. So who here is between the ages of about 20 and 38? Put your hands up. Oh, God, you're here. Okay. That was all fellow old people today. I thought it was leaders. So, I'm going to translate what us older people are saying to you millennials. When we say the word millennials, working with you, hiring you, right, raising you. When we say the word millennials, what we mean is people younger than us, and we don't like you. Okay, so that's the bit. Okay, so that whole thing, that was a bit. I apologize for pretending it was natural. That's a bit. I've worked it really hard over probably 100 or so keynotes to get into a bit. It's funny, yes? People usually laugh more, but that's a human audience. So I took the clip. My only business is this. If I'm not on stage, I'm not getting paid. Okay? So a clip of me speaking is my content marketing. It is not only just content, it is directly my business and my content. So I took the video. I had a clip of me at PRSA, so it's the PR conference, the national one, thousands of people in the audience, right? The video was perfect. It was mic'd up perfectly. I had a mic on. The audience was mic'd up. Zing. That's exactly what you want as a speaker. And there was one woman in the audience who was drunk, high, or both. And it was like she was in church, and I was the greatest reverend of all time. Because I said one thing, I went, millennial, we don't like you. And she's like, yeah! Which makes everybody laugh at her laugh, except you think they're laughing at me, I'll take it. And I used that video, and I put it, and you can see the punchline there, right? We don't like you is captioned at the bottom, and I sent it out, and it got about 250,000 views, 250,000 views, which is pretty cool. At the time, the page had 50,000 people on the UnMarketing Facebook page, but I knew it was funnier than that. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I know the bit's funny because I've worked it. I've worked it a long time. I know it resonates. I know it's funny, and I know it's topical for the time it was coming out at. So I'm like, why is it not going more viral? And I understand the Facebook EdgeRank algorithm, and I'm going through all this stuff, and I realize our entire job with content and social is to stop the scroll, right? To stop the thumb scroll. So I said, well, this isn't going to work, especially for once it gets outside of the people who like me and the UnMarketing page fans or whatever we call them now. And once they said, oh, Scott, here he goes, and he sends it, well, there's no context for their friends or the friends of the friends, so it doesn't get the sharing. It gets the initial spread, but then it dies. So I said, what's going to make people stop the scroll regardless if they know me or not? And I decided to go almost like the meme route level of video, and I letterboxed it. And these words stay the whole time. Now, if you were scrolling and that stopped, would you stop? Much more than you would stop on the previous one. It's wordy. Who cares where I was speaking with these people? Like, the general public doesn't care. But this is like, oh, okay, what's happening? And it went from 250,000 views to 13 million views and a 32 million reach from 250,000. Same exact video, same length, and same audience. I just resent it out a month later. So even my biggest fans had already seen it. So you actually waste some of that inertia, some of that capital with them because they've already seen the bit. And you can actually hurt it because they're like, I already saw this. But then it went nuts. But here's the thing. All those numbers are crap. They mean nothing. When they say reach, it's the great social media reach around. It's not anything. Thank you for 60% of the audience that got the joke. Can you explain it to the other 40%? I'm not getting that deep into it. I don't want to. So what happens is the people reach it's to me that on Facebook, I'd ignore it. It is irrelevant to me. Views, 13 million views, irrelevant to me. Because a view on Facebook is, 3 seconds, yes? 3 seconds is not a view, it's a whiff, right? You smell somebody, maybe you're at your office, you walk by somebody's cubicle, and you think they farted, you think. But you have no confirmation, right? You walk by, you're like, how's it go? Was that Brad? Did Brad just drop a deuce, an air deuce? Did he just drop an air deuce in his cubicle? Is that what happened? And you walk back, and then some guy's like, oh, I'm going back. You're like, yeah, he did, right? So that's 3 seconds. That's not a view. That's not a impact. That is, it was served up and it started playing. As a marketer, I don't want that. I don't care about that. I want my content to drive either action or attraction. Okay, right? I need that towards my brand. That's the point of content. That's the point of staying in front of people. It's engaging to them, it's relevant, and it endears them more to the brand. This brand just happens to be me. So I dug deeper in the content. You don't have to see all these real numbers. All the one I'm really concerned about here is that I made 202 people sad. Was my man bun sad? Was the beard sad? Like, what was the sad part? Yeah, they were millennials who didn't finish watching it. Why? Because they don't. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I am just kidding. But we were just on a cruise in Alaska. We did a Disney cruise. Took all the kids. They're all getting older, so it's like our last cruise. And this is the Disney Wonder Ship. Doesn't have the same as one of the other ones where you just pick the movie. This one, you turned a channel on, and whatever's playing was playing. And the kids are like, "What? It's broken!" I'm like, "What?" They're like, "You changed the channel, and things are already playing." I'm like, "That's how it was." You have no idea. What happens if you missed your show? Then you missed it. And then you waited 3 years for it to come out on VHS and went to Blockbuster. You needed season 2, and season 2 was always out. Sorry, that was a trigger for me. So let's go into the metrics I want. Let's go deeper. All right, minutes viewed, no. Videos viewed, no. 10 seconds views. All right, good. I'll take 10 plus seconds as a metric. YouTube, 30 seconds, even better. Unless the video is under 30 seconds, then it's whatever, how long the video is. Now we're smoking here. Now we're doing it. 4.8 million. And so not 13, not 36 million, 4.8. But guess what? Still not good enough. Dig deeper. 3.4 million of that watched it over 10 seconds with sound on. Now, the concerning thing here is that 1.3 million people never turned the sound on but watched it for more than 10 seconds. I just look like an angry mime the whole time. And I just walked away. Like, that's it. So I don't understand it. It's weird. It freaks me out a bit. But this is the point. The metrics that matter are the ones that matter to you and to your knowledge and to your brain, to your business. Now, again, same thing as the first story. If your client, if you have clients, or if your boss, if you're internal, the metrics they want are vanity, then fine. Serve them up on a vanity platter to them and give it to them, and they can go brag to other people of the thing that did nothing for them. I want you, as practitioners, as ethical practitioners, to find the right metric, because that could drive business. So the number I'm working with is 3.4 million. That's my starting point if I'm analyzing the effectiveness of this video. My job is doing keynotes. I judge how well something is done by the inquiries I get to go do a keynote. You know how many inquiries I got from 3.4 million accurate metric views? 0. No, I'm sorry, I got 1. One guy said, "Can you come do your comedy act at my barbecue?" So when I got back from that, it was a $20 is $20, all right? I then put out what's called a speaker trailer or demo reel, right? And we had it made, I had a new one made, and I put it up, and it got 4,000 views. And I got 14 inquiries from it. Which video is better? For my business, it was the demo reel. This was nice. I made people laugh. The best part was our kids' friends at high school was like, "Is that your dad?" And I'm like, "You're damn right it was." They're like, "Why are you at our school?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry," and I'd leave. But that's the point. There are good people in this business. There are good people in this room that happen to be in this business. There's the right people to find. And sometimes it doesn't work, what you're doing, where you are, and we have to shift that. But we don't ever get to shift ethics. We don't get to shift what we do and our legacy because of that. I got one more thing to show you before I do. Please join my wonderful business partner, co-author, and wife, Allison, and I on the podcast, brought to you by Emma, who has a booth out there, and after Mr. Rollins is done, I will be out there signing books, copies of them brand new. We got 125 copies, all for you, all free. Line it up, and I'll be out there, and I'll sign them until we're all done. Brought to you by our wonderful friends at Emma. And why do I say wonderful? Because they give us money. Other than that, but it's been a weird sponsorship. So as people doing and dealing with, I'm an influencer. I hate the word. I liked it when we used to call it sponsorship. And we came up with a new word for it. But I'm an influencer that they were going after, and we were doing a podcast sponsorship originally. They were sponsoring the show. We do the live reads and the pre-roll. But they were so great. They were so awesome. They came and said, "Don't change anything. We love your voices," you and Allison. Allison and I, by the way, met on Twitter. I have the greatest social media ROI in the history of social media. Don't at me, all right? Don't try it. So we kept one-upping each other. Emma was doing more for us, so we'd do more for them, back and forth, and we have a running joke on the show. We are almost at our 300th episode now. A running joke on the show, and the thing about the show is I learned about podcasts is you have one host, a guest every week, and keep it a consistent length. So we have 2 hosts, no guests ever, and no consistent length. And a sponsor. And they let us be us. And we have a running joke in the show saying we only have 7 listeners. I've been saying it since episode 1, when we actually had, I think, 7 listeners, to today, where we have a lot more than that. But we call our listeners one of the 7. And every conference I keynote at, somebody will come up to me and say, "Hey, Scott, I'm one of the 7. which is nice because people feel like they're part of a community, even if it's an audience community. And then we were in Nashville recently, and we went and did a talk at Emma's headquarters, and they had these shirts made. Emma is one of the 7. They didn't have to. They didn't need to. They didn't do anything. They just give us money. You're like, you're done. Let us do it. And they keep doing more, which is why I wanted to do this and do the signing and everything else. So that was the best case study of doing an awesome sponsorship that gets somebody who's very cynical like me to do something like that. The last thing I'm going to show you is my favorite tweet of all time. It's an oldie but a goodie. I did it last time I did a keynote here 5 years ago. It's my favorite tweet of all time, and I've read every tweet in history because I don't have a job. Men's Humor tweets, "This morning I gave birth to a food baby, and I think Taco Bell is the father." And it's the reply that makes it historic. Taco Bell replies with the only reply possible, and they say, "I want a DNA test." Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the event.